Welcome everyone to this Fireside chat session on CXO TV. Today we have Gregg Ostrowski, the Chief Technology Officer Advisor at Cisco AppDynamics joining us. Gregg has a wealth of experience in the tech industry, having held leadership positions at Research in Motion and Samsung. He has successfully guided companies through digital transformations, mobility application deployments, DevOps strategies, and more. Welcome, Gregg.
Thank you very much, Kalpana. Thank you for having me on.
Our pleasure. So to start off, let's dive into the topic of application observability. Could you share with us the 5 key characteristics of an application observability solution?
Sure, absolutely. So when you first start off, you look at why application observability is so critical. It's really to make sure that you have the best performing applications that are secure, that are driving the top business outcomes. When you kind of look at that, that's like your top rationale of why it's so important. But when you look at what's the characteristic, so number one, when you make an application function or you drive that end user experience, you have many domains that are focused on it, from the network to the infrastructure, the application code, all the way through security, but also having that business context. So one key characteristic is having that central source of truth so you can quickly pinpoint and identify root cause. The other part is about being able to validate investments. So as business leaders are starting to invest in cloud native technologies to drive better performance, you got to be able to validate that investment to show that you're actually improving the business outcomes. But also being able to integrate as a third component, being able to integrate the availability of applications with performance data with security. So security's got to be part of the mix when you look at an observability solution. And then also when we always talk a lot about, you hear a lot of industry news about how driving a cloud native application technology starts driving up complexity. Observability doesn't need to be so complex. It has to simplify what you have in your environment. And lastly, with the open source strategies around open telemetry, you got to have open telemetry in your mix. So this way you're supporting the open standards that are coming out from a cloud native perspective. So when you look at all those 5 characteristics, really brings down to the idea of driving the best user experience.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those insights, Gregg. So moving on, what are some of the challenges organizations face when it comes to the application security?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting topic. So when you look at the way we built applications in the past, everything was relatively simple. I could say that now because now it became more complex. But you see an act-your node model. Everything's relatively static. When you start moving to the cloud, you start increasing your sprawl. You start bringing in additional components to the application. So what happens is you're effectively increasing your attack surface. So now there's more points of entry where a bad actor can get in. So, and as a matter of fact, during the last couple of years, we've seen a big rush in adoption of cloud native technologies. And what we do in Cisco AppDynamics is we commission a series of reports. And one of them that came up that showed that 92% of the global technologists feel that they rushed the need to innovate with at the expense of adding in robust application security. So when you see that happening, when you see that rush to innovate, you always got to make sure security is in the forefront and built into this series of innovations. So when you kind of bring it all together, the challenges become, you got to identify issues that are happening in the code. You may be sprawling out to a containerized environment through Kubernetes. So your Kubernetes environments are going to now also be vulnerable. So making it in a position where you can quickly identify where those vulnerabilities are coming in, but also having that collaboration so that you can quickly address and resolve the issue from a security perspective.
Absolutely. So application observability seems to offer a solution to these challenges. Yeah. Can you highlight some benefits of application observability over traditional application monitoring?
Yeah, sure. So, traditional application monitoring is still incredibly valuable to many, many customers. So, the benefit from observability over traditional app monitoring is, number one, is you got to have business context. So being able to identify IT issues to business outcomes is becoming critical. This way, when there's an issue that goes on, how much of the impact it was to the business, and also being able to see when you make improvements that you're actually driving up business outcomes. But with that becomes the ability to quickly detect and solve and identify root cause of issues. Going back to what I said earlier about the sprawling domains or sprawling technology stack, and you have many different domains. And actually, when you add cloud native into your overarching mix, you actually increase the number of domains that you have, right? You now have cloud operations teams and infrastructure teams and DevOps teams that focus just on cloud native. So by being able to bring that all together so you can focus on that hybrid type application, be able to quickly go in and identify exactly where the issue is coming in. And that way you improve the productivity and the efficiency of the IT department to be proactive and resolve issues before it actually impacts the business and actually impacts the user experience in a negative way.
Yeah, so that's quite fascinating. And now let's move on to the cloud. Cloud computing has become a game changer for businesses, but it also brings its own set of challenges. How can companies effectively manage their applications in a cloud environment?
Yeah, that's very true. The benefit of moving to the cloud is to provide speed, quickly iteration of application code, and provide better scalability for your application. So when you look at those two factors, folks are really, moving very quickly to adopt cloud native. So when you look at it from a security perspective, and you look at some of the data that's out there, Red Hat, big provider for open source and Kubernetes environments and OpenShift, what they provide, looking at what they report, 93% of businesses has had at least one security incident in their Kubernetes environment over the last 12 months. 31% of those have experienced a financial or customer loss because of that result. So when you have security threats, the issue is you lose faith in your customer base, or your customer base loses faith in you, I should say. And your brand diminishes. So it's very negatively impacted when you can't handle the security threats and vulnerabilities in a very timely fashion to make sure that the end user's data is safe. Even with that, when you look at Gartner's reports, by 2025, they're expecting 95% of all digital workloads to be deployed in cloud native platforms. So you can see the growing trends. And ultimately, when you look at from an observability solution to make sure you have security insights tied into there, organizations really can't delay. They can't afford to delay. I mean, with application security being so foundational for that brand trust and customer loyalty, it really makes a lot of sense to make sure that's a priority for your organization. So we refer to it as business risk observability, so that way you can help identify revenue impacting security threats, but also provide the elements of how do you prioritize when you have 25 or 50 different security alerts coming in, so that now the teams know which ones are actually being exploited, which ones are globally being exploited as well. So you know which ones are the hot items to go after and target, but then being able to prioritize and fix the ones that need to be fixed that are most business impacting. So that's really when you look at the areas to consider when it looks at application security within cloud native environments.
Yeah. Okay. So another interesting topic is application-led security. How does it simplify vulnerability management and help businesses defend against attacks?
Yeah, absolutely. So you look at it from a couple factors. IT needs to be able to correlate those application challenges from a security perspective that includes business transactions, the application code, the services, the workloads, the pods, containers, all aspects of the application. And that way you can quickly isolate where the threat's coming in at. And if you look at from a business risk observability perspective, being able to identify issues that are in the code, like, Log4j was a big issue a couple of years back. And it's such a great example because I think everyone I know has been impacted by it. You have a vulnerable library within an application, you identify it, you can quickly remediate by blocking that library from initiating, protecting your code. Now, that's a very, very quick process to initiate, but when you think about that, that's one aspect of it. You also have to be able to protect the cloud native side. So being able to see what's happening in your Kubernetes environment from a security perspective, so you can identify if there's a threat, identify if there's vulnerability, but have that, again, go back to having that business risk score so you know which areas to go fix and go identify and resolve first. So at the end of the day, when you kind of bring it all together, there's so many different factors that need to help simplify or that come into play when it's looking at vulnerabilities and threats within an application code, because they're all disparate all over the different places. So you have to have that ability to quickly identify, leveraging the tools that are at your, within your observability platform, but then also quickly be able to resolve them. So using an automated fashion, so like back to that Log4j issue, being able to identify and quickly remediate by blocking the library is something you could do in literally minutes And as soon as that issue comes up, or as soon as that vulnerability pops up, you want to be able to identify, respond, and then resolve. And that way you have the key aspects. And again, bringing in that business context so that when your business leaders ask, you can state, this issue happened on the payments component of our application. We resolved it. There has been minimal impact to the end user side because we had some revenue that was lost during that short period of time. You can reduce that based on the proper observability tools that you have in place that identify those security threats. So when you look at it overarching, simplifying by using the right tools, having the right alignment with your teams, but also having the right data so you know which ones to go after and target first.
That's nice. So overall, application-led security enhances resilience and helps protect applications and data effectively. I think we can say that. So let's discuss the role and importance of observability in ensuring resilience and performance in modern applications.
Yeah, this is a critical component, right? This is really, going back to my earlier statements, the main item that everyone is targeting, it's the end user and it's the business outcomes. So resilience and performance couldn't be more critical to maintain a happy customer. You want the customer coming back. You want them buying products from you and using your company services. So when you kind of look at that, high level piece, there's huge importance to it. We also, talked a little bit about a survey that we've also ran. We called the Agents of Transformation. 71% of the respondents recognize that their organizations need to invest in this area. So it's not a light topic. It's something that's very top of mind with many different customers. And when you look at it, only full stack observability is what organizations can use to identify and address those inherent complexities during that digital transformation process. So as companies are starting to shift and they're starting to introduce new capabilities and new advancements in their application code, the ability to have that quick observability to it is key. So now when you also look at that, you have to, again, bring security into the mix so you can accelerate the detection and resolution of performance issues, but also when it comes to security. Security can cause a performance issue, and that way you kind of look at it from a holistic approach. But when you have that, every stage of the cloud migration journey, you got to be able to focus on that. You got to be able to look at what's happening, monitor from that business context layer, make sure financial risks of poor application performance is identified, and be able to have that team where all the folks, all the business leaders, all the different domains are all on the same page using that shared context, both from an application health and application security perspective.
Yeah. So thank you for highlighting the significance of observability. Greg, another emerging technology is AI and machine learning. So how do they contribute to observability?
Yeah, so AI is always such a big topic, right? So the biggest news we see on with all the things going on with GPT and all that good stuff. But when it comes to AI and observability, the first piece I'm going to highlight is when, going back to my comments about application sprawl. You now have, you're going from a traditional base app to a modern app, which fires up microservices, close down, fires up containers, close down. What I'm getting to is it generates an enormous amount of data. So now the amount of data that comes in, to be able to properly analyze that and identify root cause, it's surpassed the abilities of what we can do effectively as a human. So now by bringing in all that data, you got to have the AI capabilities to quickly isolate, identify root cause, make sense of all the data that's coming in, provide you details of the business outcomes that I referred to, the user experience, the issue identification. Again, when you're looking at multi-domains, if there's an issue on the database, you want to quickly identify it's the database causing the issue. Typically you'll get into that war room and you'll bring in 100 people and everybody's pointing at each other and saying, it's not me. But when you have AI-driven capabilities in your observability platform and you can quickly identify that it's that particular area that's causing the issue, your response times dramatically go up. Your mean time to resolution goes down. So by having that tied into a platform that helps you analyze the data, get those insights, get those outcomes you're looking for, it really makes a big difference when it comes down to what matters most, and that's the business outcome.
Absolutely. So AI AI and machine learning are undoubtedly valuable tools in the observability toolkit.
Absolutely.
So before we wrap up, do you have any top security concerns for technologists prioritizing the protection of customer and employee data?
The biggest concerns are, again, to the growing attack surfaces that you now have increases your vulnerabilities. It increases your need to focus on that application first approach to identify those cybersecurity threats and issues that pop up. But combining together with the visibility, the gaps in application performance that you may have, so you can have that all brought together. So the security concerns are, is it an issue within all aspects of the app, whether it's the code, whether it's the cloud native Kubernetes environment or your workloads that you're running in the cloud, but being able to bring that all together. This is really what helps you release reduce the pressure in firefighting, because typically IT teams are in a siloed IT department, right? So that's the biggest issue. So when you look at it from a security concern, the siloed IT way that we've done things in the past is a challenge. You're not able to bring together all the different teams. You're under a lot of pressure. You're constantly firefighting. So when you have these different areas of concerns from technology, it really goes from attack surfaces increasing in a sprawling fashion, not having those abilities to identify where those gaps and performance issues are between, your traditional app usage and performance, as well as security threats, and all that kind of consistent siloed based operations that we've been working in for many, many years. I've got about 30 years experience in IT, and I can tell you that's been a problem for 30 years of my time.
Thank you, Gregg, for sharing these valuable insights and strategies. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's Fireside Chat session. It has been an honor having you here with us, and we greatly appreciate your expertise in application security, observability, and the cloud.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to our audience for tuning in. We hope you found this Fireside Chat session insightful. Stay tuned for more informative discussions in the future. Goodbye and have a great day.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.